2 weeks later, Bruce and his crew return to the same soundstage, now redressed into the third floor of the pagoda, the Hall of the Tiger. The first 2 days of filming are largely dedicated to a fight scene never seen before and long presumed lost, until now. As cameras roll on September 25th, we see James Tien, his scheming character alive and well, little knowing his doom is still 2 floors ahead. The actor joining him, carrying the large pole, is stuntman turned actor Tien. The actor waiting for them, sitting in the chair, is Dan Inosanto. Though there are no script notes to indicate this, we can infer from his late arrival that Bruce's character, Tien, is busy fighting the guardian of the second floor of the pagoda, an expert in praying mantis kung fu. Born in 1945 to a Chinese family living in Malaysia, Tien had already firmly established himself for 5 years as an in-demand stuntman at Shaw Brothers, since first appearing in their record-breaking hit, The One-Armed Swordsman. His role in the Game of Death, originally intended for then up-and-coming Golden Harvest fight choreographer Sammo Hung, is of another one of the fighters sent by the Korean mobster to raid the pagoda. His character, unnamed except for Che in Bruce's notes, is immediately contrasted with James Tien's. Dressed in traditional black karate gi clothing, Che's headstrong and less sophisticated character is cannily manipulated by the stylish James Tien, who continually goads him to run into the path of danger first. The log fight, as it has become known to legions of Bruce Lee fans over the years, has never been incorporated into any edited assembly of the Game of Death footage before. As Che wields the large pole, picked up, allegedly, from a display of weapons held on the second floor of the pagoda, Dan's character is unfazed as he picks up the 2 much smaller sticks, known in the Philippines as kali or anis. Dan begins to tap an insistent, nagging melody using the kali, taunting Che and Yuan by repeating it over and over. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. The origin of this melody dates back to Bruce and Dan's early friendship. It was the secret knock they devised for entrance to the Junfan Kung Fu Institute the pair opened in the Chinatown area of Los Angeles in 1967. Having only appeared on camera once before, as a fight double in an episode of The Green Hornet, opposite Bruce, Dan's character in the Game of Death is the guardian of the pagoda's 3rd floor, expert in the art of eskrima stick fighting from the Philippines. The 3rd floor guardian's red headband and open-chested black shirt indicate he is a Moro, one of the Muslim communities native to the southern Philippines. As Che turns to James Tien, intimidated by Dan's display of force, James Tien snorts derisively, provoking Che to continue. Born to Filipino parents in Stockton, California in 1936, Dan Inosanto began learning karate at the age of 11, and by the time he met Bruce Lee in Long Beach in 1964, was already proficient in a range of different fighting techniques, learning from an eclectic mix of masters and teachers. His deftness at combining different methods greatly influenced Bruce as he developed Jeet Kune Do, and soon Dan became one of only 3 Jeet Kune Do instructors personally appointed by Bruce. Che turns to Tien for guidance. Tien goads him to proceed, telling him, "Don't let him psych you out." As with the fight with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the message is that it's not the size of the fighter or their chosen weapon that counts, but rather the skill and strategy with which they attack. This fight philosophy unfolds through numerous stages, and with the log fight footage found again, we get a much clearer view of what Lee strived for. In many ways, the Hall of the Tiger sequence expands on the Colosseum fight from The Way of the Dragon. That classic confrontation between Lee and Chuck Norris progressed in 2 phases. The first had Lee attempting to match Norris's hard style of traditional karate, but coming up short. But on the second phase, Lee overcomes his mammoth opponent through Jeet Kune Do's ethos of adaptability and flexibility, visually signified by the Ali shuffle in his footwork, and an overall unpredictability of movement that doesn't fit with any traditional martial system. In the Hall of the Tiger sequence, this philosophy is expressed through 4 phases. Each one has its own sub-phases that unveil a more nuanced expression of Lee's martial ethos, while never losing sight of entertaining his audience. In particular, Lee had a keen sense of storytelling, and understood that for action to not be monotonous, danger and escalation were key to gripping the viewer's attention. Phase 1 is entirely dedicated to Che Yuan, as he attempts to bypass the 3rd floor guardian. He strikes at Inosanto with a large log, and does so with appropriate gusto, desperate to prove his worth. But Che's chosen weapon proves too unwieldy for the dexterity and speed of the Guardian's duo Eskrima sticks. Che Yuan switches gears and resorts to empty-hand combat. Inosanto discards his own weapons and employs Kenpo karate to take down his foolhardy opponent. The first day's filming ends, and after a 1-day break from shooting, for reasons unknown, the second day, Wednesday 27th September, begins with one more take of the same shot. This entire first phase perfectly establishes Dan Inosanto's formidable martial prowess in both armed and then unarmed combat. But these 2 skill sets are presented in isolation from each other, separated by the 3rd level Guardian's pride in his own abilities. With this information brought to light, Lee is a choreographer and director, also smartly foreshadows Inosanto's limitation. Phase 2, and it is James Tien's turn. He pulls out his own stick, wanting to fight Inosanto at his own game. Unlike the brash Tien is more cautious and takes a more defensive approach. But as soon as he uses any offensive maneuver, he falters. Though it is only on screen for a fraction of a second, the slate scene at the beginning of the next take shows an important milestone. For the very first time, the title written at the top, as opposed to Audition or Yellow-Faced Tiger, is The Game of Death. Is at play here? Are these sticks extensions of the third Guardian's body, or are they simply chains that restrict it? These questions will later be answered once Inosanto faces our main hero. Of Phase 3. Our hero presents his own extended limb, a wiry emerald hue bamboo stick. After reacting to James Tien, who is still nursing his wounded pride on the floor, Bruce turns to Dan Inosanto and speaks his first line of dialogue in the scene. "Do you speak any English?" Like the scenes opposite Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bruce films all of his dialogue with Dan, and in one later instance, Korean. Dan Inosanto responds, "Of course I speak English." Bruce looks down at the wounded Che as he says to Dan, "I hope you don't mind us moving our man, so that the two of us will have more room to groove." Dan accepts with one condition, but Have your men stay as far away from that stairway as possible. The idea that the three of them could ambush the third floor guardian, or indeed any of the adversaries in the pagoda, is seemingly out of the question. Like the Colosseum in The Way of the Dragon, the rules of combat apply, language more commonly spoken by Hong Kong rule. Bruce himself had even dubbed the voices of English speakers. Inosanto attempts to intimidate our hero by swinging both sticks in flashy and perfectly coordinated figures of eight. A physical declaration of war, if you will. Before battle commences, Bruce allows himself one more lengthy line of dialogue that serves partly as a warning to Inosanto. This bamboo is longer, more flexible, and very much alive. And when your flashy routine cannot keep up with the speed and elusiveness of this thing here, all I can say is that you're going to be in deep trouble. The third floor guardian does not heed his warning. He taps his teasing beat once.